Hi everyone, it's Chris Lafleur. We're back in the CH tasting room and we're tasting lot 842 today, a Minervois. So this is a red French wine from the south of France. Minervois, of course, comes from the Roman Minerva, aka the Greek Athena. This is the goddess of wisdom, showing us that this region has been wisely chosen as a good place to plant grapes for at least several thousand years, all the way back to the time of Pliny the Elder. We as a crew, guys, could not decide if it's Pliny or Pliny. When we asked Google, Google said Pliny, but we can't trust Google all the time. So use your judgment on this one. If I'm wrong, don't at me, but do sound off in the reviews. So let's talk about this wine. This is 60% Syrah, 40% Grenache. So it's very similar and in keeping with the style that you normally see in the south of France, which tends to be focused on those grapes. And let's see how it expresses itself. You can see it's a bit dark in color. This is usually a result of the skin of the Syrah grape tending to be relatively dark. And on the nose, well, we're carrying through with that with a little bit of dark fruit, in particular black currant, blackberry, a bit of raspberry, still a bit brambly, which is something I expect from wines from that region. Very pleasant though. It does have a little charcuterie on the nose, like cured meat, something I expect from Syrah, but a little bit more amped up in this expression than some other expressions I've had even today. So something to keep in mind. But it adds a level of complexity that intermingles with some of the garrigue that you find on the nose here. Garrigue is, of course, the scrubby bushes that you find along the Mediterranean that tend to be a bit aromatic, a bit aromatized. They have a bit of rosemary, lavender notes from time to time, and I think that adds a little bit more complexity to an already complex wine. You can see, though, the flavors are mingling together really well. It makes for something that's definitely worth contemplating. Like if you're gonna open this and drink it, you'd wanna think about it a little bit. So keep that in mind when you're purchasing a case or bottle or what have you. Okay. Ooh, so lots going on here. So right away on the palate, you can really feel the structure of this wine. It feels very fresh, which usually translates to, you know, like my mouth is watering underneath my tongue. Really great way of assessing acidity. And on the top of the palate, there's a lot of tannin. It's not aggressive, but it's present. It's not quite chalky, not quite refined. It's just very present. And I would say medium plus, which is a kind of fancy way of saying it's not quite high, it's not medium. So we're gonna say medium plus in the middle there. On the palate, the flavors are really blackberry, raspberry, and leaning a little bit more red than black, even though the nose is a little bit darker. And I can also get a little bit of mint, lavender, rosemary on the finish, kind of giving us that garrigue note once again. And then also the animal character, the charcuterie and the cured meats is standing out a little bit more on the palate than it did on the nose, leaning in with a little bit of like clove and I want to say bacon, but it's not quite bacon, it's just close to that. So where does this fit in your cellar? Well, obviously it's a very complex wine, so definitely one worth thinking about and sitting down with. Maybe if you're used to drinking a lot of New World wines, which tend to be driven by a very overripe to ripe fruit expression and sometimes a bit of influence of vanilla from new oak, well, this isn't going to be that, and it might be something fun to introduce to your friends as something that's a bit of a departure from the norm, but a very pleasant departure and one worth thinking about. I will leave you with the idea that you might want to lie this down a little bit, so get several bottles, lie it down for 3 months, 6 months to a year and see how it develops, but it's certainly worth having a couple on hand just to watch the journey of this wine. So with that, please enjoy, and I will see you at the next glass.